We're going to continue tonight with Michael Hartmann. Michael is a senior fellow and director of the Center for Strategic Giving at the Capital Research Center in Washington, D.C. He recently wrote an article in which he explored the evidence for how philanthropic support of nonprofit media skews left. For more than 18 years, he served on the program staff of the Lyndon Harry Bradley Foundation in Milwaukee, including as its director of research. He assisted Bradley's vice president for programs in administering the foundation's grant-making in K-12 education, employee rights, economic growth and prosperity, energy and the environment, law and legal reform, equal opportunity and individual liberty, and family and society. He is a past visiting fellow of the Philanthropic Roundtable in D.C., where he researched and wrote Helping People to Help Themselves, a Guide for Donors. Before joining Bradley in 1998, he was a director of research at the Wisconsin Policy Research Institute. He is a graduate of the University of Minnesota Law School and has published law review articles on the constitutionality of school vouchers and aspects of welfare reform, as well as on the First Amendment and intellectual property rights. Michael.
Well, thank you for that introduction. That was, I think, permissible hyperbole, maybe, and not fake news. It would have passed the test, I hope. That's very nice of you. Thanks as well to the Berks County Community Foundation for inviting me to participate in tonight's event. This is quite a program. I hope you certainly continue it, and I hope it's replicated, to use a philanthropic word that's used all the time, replicated elsewhere. As Karen said, I worked at the Lyndon Harry Bradley Foundation, which is in Milwaukee. I did not know when I accepted the invitation that the Brewers would be playing in Game 3 of the National League Championship Series, which I think begins at 7:40. But I'll be in the bar immediately after this and will buy a Miller Lite for anybody who joins me in rooting for them. The Packers are on tonight as well, so hopefully there'll be 2 TVs in there. In fact, I know there are. I have checked. Miller Lite's available as well there, so that's something you can do with me. I was also able to attend a Reading Royals game last night, which was great fun. That will get me some street cred back home with my hockey fan friends. I understand it's the first game you've won of the season, and I further understand from the Reading Eagle that the victory was spurred by a decidedly uncivil fight in the first period. So we can maybe or maybe not draw a lesson from that. At the Bradley Foundation, where I did work for almost 2 decades, we funded research, public education, as we would call it, and then public discourse in general and specifically. It was a goal to get the people we supported into prominent newspapers, publications, on TV, before Congress to testify. So we tried to pay close attention to the flow of information. And it was changing a lot, so it presented many challenges, and they are still trying to deal with them there. I'm not there anymore, but we who are supported by them as well, as is the Capital Research Center, are trying to deal with this changing landscape. So I have 3 general points, 2 of which I think would apply to both liberal and conservative funders and consumers of news, the third one of which might apply in particular to conservatives, this having to do with the ratio of funding of nonprofit opinion magazines. In 2006, a book caught our attention on the staff of the Bradley Foundation. It was called The Economics of Attention by a UCLA English professor, David Lanham. And it had great implications and it sort of shook us a little bit. The point was, the most precious resource in our new information economy was in fact not information, we're all drowning in it, but attention. And I think what everybody here in the different ways is talking about is what's being done to get your attention, which is more valuable than it used to be, given the haystack we're all in, haystack of information, opinion, analysis. Unfortunately, also sometimes including fraudulently either presented or formulated information, fake news. So, okay, the first point. Let's just do this for a foundation. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Table 8 here. Can I do this? Slander the TV people because I'm looking. You just
Can I have your name from you real quick? Ellerman. And are you guys married? Are you rich?
So the Ellerman Foundation, you want both your names in there, we'll just call it the Ellerman family. We'll call it the Ellerman Foundation, don't say family, then the kids get a little uppity and they want to have a say. The Ellerman Foundation, let's make it worth $500,000, not okay, that about right? Which means you have to give away about $15 million a year to retain your tax exempt status. Take off 5 of that because you got to give it to the museum and the zoo, and so there'll be pressures brought to bear on the grant making budget. So let's say Table 8, the Ellerman Foundation has $10 million a year to spend on public discourse. We will not yet assign to you a worldview. That'll be for the third point. Okay, so the Ellerman Foundation's sitting around thinking, gee, you know, we have supported a lot of people who were good at what they did and got attention for their either research or observations or insight or commentary on the Wall Street Journal op-ed page, the New York Times op-ed page, some great opinion magazines that got attention among elites who were trying to influence to get certain public policies further. Ellerman was pretty proud of what they did, and still are, of course. But you know, the barriers to entry for other people who want to contribute to public discourse by technology is greatly lowered, including so much so that people are now making stuff up, and they're using algorithms to get ahead of you in line to get the eyes of the attention to everybody else in the room that you're trying to reach with your good points. What do we do? What do we, the Ellerman Foundation, do? Can I be your executive director? Because I've got some advice. I'm not cheap. Okay, and I need health care. I'm sick. Right? Given the fact that there's less value added by your grants than there used to be because of the fact that these op-ed pages that you've relied on to get the message out are not worthless, but worth less. So there's less value added to the philanthropic dollar. This should be humbling. So I've picked Table 8 and I'm telling you, be humbled. You know, drop the swagger. Quit walking around like you own the place, even though you do own and run the Ellerman Foundation. What is it we're supposed to do after being humbled? You can be looking forward now to how to handle this change in circumstance. Well, how's this for a good executive director thing to say? Let's be more strategic, which means pick better, do more with less, or try to. The flip side of that is maybe we'll be more lucky. And I mean, I'm genuine about that. Strategic and lucky are, maybe sometimes they go together. We can look for more funding allies for what it is we're trying to put out. And that is not uncommon. The Cook Foundation has a network. They convene people where they share whom they fund and urge others to join them. The Democracy Alliance on what I'll call the liberal side, funded by George Soros, does the same thing. We can double down. We can spend more money. We can go into the endowment. If things are so important, this would be something you would want to consider doing. Nor would it be unreasonable to conclude in this context, maybe we should seed the field and get out of public discourse and pick other areas. There's no shortage of people making good arguments for philanthropic investment by the Ellerman Foundation. And maybe, given the way this has changed so much, we should get out of this and pick another worthy area in which to invest, lower hanging fruit. All right, so that's first point, less value added, which should humble us. And I think 4, not really very good options from your executive director about what to do next, but that's what I can do for now. Second quick point, I think probably easily made after hearing what we already have. Lies spread faster than the truth. This has always been the case, as we all know, but the technology, of course, now I think means that lies spread even faster than they used to, than the truth. And this is bad for public discourse in general, the public discourse in which we all want to participate, you know, liberals and conservatives and libertarians and progressives and everybody. It's bad overall, and it's bad specifically if you have one of those worldviews, because it might detract from your credibility as well, or in particular, given on which lies are being spread and what's being found out about how the lies are spread and who's spreading them and how you can categorize who's the liar and who's the spreader and so forth. All right, so the Ellerman Foundation needs to be humbled. again, it's even harder to do what we wanted to do, given both of those points, less value added from your millions, lies spread faster than the truth, as it's trying to be spread by your grant making. Okay, so again, after humbling the money holder, the funder, we can be more strategic. We're lucky again. We can look for more allies, double down, go into the seed corn, or seed the field. Now, unfairly, Ellerman Foundation, if I can assign to you something to which you might not subscribe at all, for all I know, let's pretend it's a conservative foundation and look at some numbers in the nonprofit opinion journalism world. The Shorenstein Center for Media, Politics, and Public Policy and Northeastern University School of Journalism recently released a pretty major study of nonprofit journalism writ large, but it had a section in there on magazines, which I just want to highlight for my employers at the Ellerman Foundation. A team of researchers, there was a big team, it was a big study, they analyzed more than 32,000 foundation grants from 2010 to 2015 in support of nonprofit journalism. Collectively, these totaled about $1.8 billion. All of these numbers are relative, but that's a lot of money. Over 6 years, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Of the 1.8 billion, a little more than 80 million went to magazines. So about 5% of the total. Of this, about 29.3 million went to magazines that the team felt they could categorize as either liberal or conservative. So that's just one note here in my, not cynicism, but maybe skepticism. If they had another category for general interest, which some conservatives might have said includes liberal magazines. The Atlantic was one of them. But okay, let's go with Harper's was another. Let's go with the categories of the study. 29.3 to magazines that can be categorized. Of the 29.3, $22.8 million went to 9 liberal magazines. So that's 77.8%. 6.5 million went to 5 conservative magazines, about 22.2%. So that's a 3.5 to 1 ratio in favor of liberal opinion magazines, not in the nonprofit. Most of them are nonprofit, and that's the ratio. So the Ellerman Foundation, we've got another challenge if we want to be a conservative foundation, whether you are or not, and participate in this enterprise. One note about the ratio before I get to an appendix. I want to list the magazines for you so you can all see if you subscribe. You know, that 3 plus, more than 3 to 1 liberal to conservative ratio is found in other contexts. It's not surprising to me, or I don't think would be surprising to many development directors at conservative nonprofits. A study earlier in the year found a 3.4 to 1. This is not in nonprofit journalism, just overall a 3.4 to 1 liberal to conservative advantage in the total revenues of all policy-oriented nonprofits in the 501c3 space that were supported by 6 top liberal and 6 top conservative foundations. A Manhattan Institute study last year found a 3.3 to 1 liberal to conservative advantage in grant spending by 28 top liberal and 24 top conservative policy-oriented foundations. So, you know, if it were the case that somebody might have thought, the market is killing off all these journalism outfits because they can't survive and aren't good, and it'd be healthy if foundations were the ones that had to come in and save journalism. If you're a conservative foundation, you might just want to know or note to yourself, ourselves at the Ellerman Foundation, that you're going to be at a disadvantage there, which means you've got to either be, again, more strategic, more humble about what you're going to be up to, or find more funding allies if it's the case that you want to outspend your liberal counterparts. Or you can double down, thinking it's a sort of revolutionary time, go into your seed corn. Some foundations do that. They spend out in a certain period of time to prevent the kids from fighting over it later, or the staffs from taking it. or you could seed the field and look elsewhere for your philanthropic investments, whatever that might be, higher education or civic education. There'd be no shortage of alternatives. So that's 3 quick points, each of which is humbling. At the end of one of the articles, I guess it was the one referenced in the introduction on the nonprofit magazines, I did sort of offer some advice about, I said seeding the field would be a mistake at this time. This is a point I think as well that it would apply to both liberal and conservative foundations. You don't give up on opinion journalism or toing and froing on paper with facts and analysis and argument because of the benefits it has internally. You'll have a better conservatism resulting from that kind of disagreement over time. Would have been helpful maybe to have had some of that before the current mess we're in. I think as well on the liberal side, it's a period of time during which it would be helpful to have that sort of healthy, vigorous disagreement / discussion given the trauma, T-R-A-U-M-A, and drama of 2016 and its aftermath. So I hope I didn't take up too much of your time, and I'm looking forward to the other presentations.